I am totally disgusted. I will continue to fight because our citizens, not only in Wyndham and Willimantic, but the surrounding towns, they're overlooking everybody here.
It's a regional thing, you bet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go on record once again as saying this is a systemic discrimination ploy by Hartford Healthcare aimed at our low-income families and women of color, period.
Yep.
Because we are a distressed city. This is wrong on all levels.
Now, for Connecticut being a fairly small state, are there other regions where you see similar treatment as what you describe here? Because the East is the quiet corner.
Well,
people are more spread out.
I don't know about the rest of the state.
Yeah.
I know about us.
Right.
And still, to piggyback on what Brenda has said before, Wyndham Hospital was the only one whose maternity and ICU units were closed out of the 10 hospitals that Hartford Healthcare has. So once again, this is a systemic discrimination ploy. It's that simple.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not just Wyndham that's in poverty. All of Eastern Connecticut has
Yes.
a very low income level. So
Yeah, the data's there from the census, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The data shows this. You know, I don't understand. Well, no, I do understand because Hartford Healthcare is about a buck to prove this point. They opened up a lovely treatment inpatient facility in our city as a nonprofit. Only problem is they don't accept Medicaid and Medicare insurance. Again, our destitute city.
What is this?
It's called the Ridge.
Oh,
On
wow.
Route 32. They do not accept Medicaid and
Oh,
Medicare.
my goodness.
They don't. Once again, Hartford Healthcare does not have any, should I say, empathy towards our citizens and our local towns that surround us. And it's just sad that they're allowed to get away with this. I employ our state legislators, again, to look at them as a monopoly because we have antitrust laws in place to prevent this. Nobody's looking at the antitrust laws here because the bottom line is Hartford Healthcare is operating like a monopoly. Plain and simple.
Well, there is a bill pending, a private equity bill, Senate Bill 1507. I guess you mentioned John Brady had given testimony. And the whole role of the private sector in this is being looked at. Do you have any idea, apart from the proposals you've heard, you have a phone call already, how far along the decision-making process is?
If it's the governor, I'll answer it.
For example, we recently finally had hearings here in the area. They were set up in, I guess, just before the holidays, and it was a problem, so they moved it to recently. So we had some recent meetings to collect data. And they're going to share that, I guess you mentioned, in April, right?
Yes.
They're going to share that data. But how far along is the process itself? Do you have a sense of what's left?
It's so slow.
It has been a long time. We've been doing this show a long time.
I've seen molasses roll down a tree faster.
Okay.
And this is what happens when civil rights are involved. And these are civil right matters. It's that simple. And when there's civil rights, the wheel is slow.
There was supposed to be a public release statement from OHS and from Guidehouse when they would start the study and how this would be run, and I saw nothing coming. And I looked at the OHS website, and for 2 months it was sitting on there, and the first line of the press release said that in 2020 the state gave permission to close the maternity unit, which is a lie.
It did.
So it was not accurate.
Yeah, you mentioned that several times, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is how long it's been going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And we've been fighting it.
10 years for the ICU.
Yeah.
And 5 years for the maternity unit. So it's been a long time. And we're not weathering. We're just getting started here.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not wearing down. So the two dates coming up are Tuesday, the 8th of April, 4 to 5 p.m. Guidehouse will have the results of the birthing study. Robust groups, and it will be available on Zoom or in person at the Senior Center, 1 Gilson Square, and they'll allow 15 minutes at the end for the community to comment.
Do you have a sense?
I know what I'm. Yeah.
Whole lot of time.
Are you saying transparency? There has not been transparency in any of this.
Nothing.
The healthcare system is imposed on us without any recourse. It's just imposed.
Right.
And so, same thing with the Guidehouse Group imposed. They said they couldn't do Zoom, and yet the results are going by Zoom. I had to remind them that, it wasn't in Spanish. And so they did that, and we got a few more weeks for them to do this. So
we have a huge Spanish-speaking population.
Yeah.
Out of
Proportionally,
here, in just Willimantic
proportionally
alone,
much
it's
larger.
44%.
Yeah.
And we also recognize that they limited it to 8 zip codes out of the 17 for the service area of Wyndham Hospital.
Yep.
So how did they
So-
pick which zip codes could testify and which ones could not?
It's because they don't want to hear the whole truth.
Right.
There's 16 different zip codes, like Brenda said, that's affected by the closures. And everybody needs to be heard. They only want to hear what they want to hear.
Well, they don't want to hear from women who are going to say, I have to drive 20 minutes to get to the birthing center
Yep.
in Wyndham. And then you're going to move me to another hospital if I'm having a problem.
Exactly.
Now you're really, this is now life-threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't planned out. Well, it's planned from their
planned.
part to save
Save
money.
money. Yeah.
But they don't care about, like I said before, they're putting profits before babies. And there's something wrong with that picture. And this needs to be addressed. But I have to leave. I wish everyone the best.
Okay,
And
Rodney.
I'm here
Thanks, Rodney.
anytime.
Thank you
Feel
for
free to
taking a
reach
break
out.
from work for being here.
All right.
Thank
God
you for
bless.
being here.
Okay, let me
As
use
well.
this moment just to give a break here because we're on live radio and also we're on YouTube. We're talking about the Wyndham United to Save Our Healthcare Coalition and their activities in the last few years. And I want to have you just mention again your Facebook page and how people can track you in between our interviews to stay up to date on these activities and events.
Absolutely.
Please.
Thank you.
Sure.
We have the Facebook page, Wyndham United to Save Our Healthcare. We're now 16 groups. We have a place where you can leave a message, and it's checked regularly. So where it says message, just hit that and write what my name is so-and-so, here's my contact information, I would like to help, or I would like to be part of something. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. The second event we have is on Saturday, the 12th of April, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at SCSU in New Haven, 501 Crescent Street on Black Maternal Health Project. And you're going to hear all kinds of specialists. The first vice president of the Connecticut NAACP chapter, Virginia Monteiro, is the contact person. And it's up on the internet so you can find it. And unfortunately, it's not on Zoom, so you have to go in person to New Haven.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you all go to the Facebook page that Brenda gave, you can get information about both of these events and how to connect. If you have to do a Zoom, how you can get to that meeting on the 8th, right? Yeah. So I have a question, like to kind of zoom out a little bit, because when I did some research, a few years ago about the economics of healthcare and how it's changing and how the population is shifting, Jean, you've been in local government, you've been in the community at so many levels over many, many decades. So you were here before a lot of our healthcare was corporatized. And the ownership and management was shifted, right? So I guess, and for you, Brenda, you've been in the field forever working in healthcare.
Yes.
So my question for you is, if you were operating a healthcare facility like Wyndham Hospital in Eastern Connecticut, and you found an economic problem was due to low population, dropping demand for services, and it became economically more expensive to run, because these are some of the arguments I heard years ago. Don't shake your heads just yet. Because this is part of a public case.
I know.
Using demographics, saying, well, there are less people that live here.
Lies.
Maybe we could have afforded it before, but now we got to be real the way the numbers are. And so it's an economic calculation. So my question to you is, 20 years ago, what was the difference?
20
In
years
general.
ago,
Yeah.
it was called Wyndham Community Memorial Hospital. And it was actually when I was in office in Wyndham that it was changed to privatize it and go with Hartford Hospital. And I don't, the community had no idea of the implications.
This was the 90s, you figure?
Yeah, well, but in 2010.
Okay, 2010.
2009.
Okay.
So there was a big announcement. We all thought, isn't that great? And all the people we knew who were on the board were there, and everybody's smiling and telling us this is wonderful.
Right.
Enhanced services close to home.
Enhanced services close to home. We're going to have access to all of Hartford Healthcare's doctors and everything else.
Virtually.
But if you go to Hartford, you will. But you won't have it if you're in Wyndham, it turned out. So it wasn't that long after that they started the shutdown. And I remember when I think it was the first maternity hearings in 2020 probably, and they were arguing financial. It was the financial implications.
Right.
And even then, it was so clear that what had happened is that our local OBGYN did not want to follow Hartford Healthcare rules, 15 minutes a patient, in, out, boom, boom. And so they left, and they sent all their people to Rockville, and they said no. So they stayed in Mansfield, but they were the only OBGYN. And everyone was sent out of town. And so therefore, yes, Hartford lost a lot of people, and they had many fewer births. But as was pointed out by Werner Ayendel, I'll never forget it, he was so clear. He's like, Hartford Hospital is rolling in money. And just because this particular branch is not making money doesn't mean Hartford Hospital shouldn't have to keep it open. They're not losing money as a hospital. They were making money hand over fist.
Well, I think they're engaged in a war with Yale New Haven over statewide health care.
But they have money, and they have to keep our hospital open, and that's one of their obligations as a hospital, is to provide health care for people. I don't see a fight over Is Yale coming here? Yale? Well, UConn's coming here.
I hope so.
I'm hearing that people are going more and more
Yeah.
to the new UConn place right up the street in Mansfield Avenue. But it's just a lie from beginning to end that they can't afford to provide these services. They have chosen. And you were asking Rodney, they tried the same thing with Bacchus, with up in Putnam. Dick Kimball, and they got special protections because they are out in the middle of nowhere.
Even more so.
More so.
Even more so. I get that.
Yeah.
That's a real thing for everyday life stuff.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick thing again. On the 8th of April, it's a Tuesday, 4 to 5, at the Senior Center here in town. They'll have a meeting to share the results of the birthing study. With what you know now anyway, when the results are shared for April, as we look into May and June, is there anything that we can look to where the next steps after that might happen? So we have an idea where to go with the story, because the story, it's hard to end this because the story ain't over yet.
No.
We're in process,
It's
right?
also going to be what's next.
Right. Yeah.
Well, May is Mother's Day, June is Father's Day, so we'll honor them and continue the work. I was able to see the PBS special, The Risk of Birth. It was done in Providence, Rhode Island, and published in January of last year. And it shows what they did by transparency and bringing the women in to tell them what was wrong with hospitals and what is wrong with the birthing experience that they went into crisis. And that transparency is something that Hartford Healthcare should be made to sit down and watch. It's remarkable, just remarkable. I learned so much from that.
So can we talk about that a little bit? Because there's the free birthing clinic idea, right? And Rodney referred to it. And how should we be treating women who are giving birth? We should be honoring them and kissing them, right? Not throwing them to the side. But in any event, other countries you get like 6 weeks off of work or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, we don't do that. Go to work within a week, right? But here, let's pretend we're doing the best thing. So a free birthing clinic could be a very good, safe, secure spot outside of a hospital environment for a woman to give birth.
But it needs a local ICU and maternity unit for those that become complicated.
Right.
And they took that away. So it was like having the birthing studies with one hand tied behind your back and partly muffled.
Yeah.
We did not have free and clear, we need a birthing center here, and we have the backup to do it here.
We need
took
the
away
backup.
the backup that it needs to be here.
Yeah. It's got to have the ICU if you don't have the maternity ward.
So I'm guessing that on the 8th they're going to say they're going to make a birthing center right near Norwich.
Okay.
I think that because they consider this a service area. Wyndham to Norwich is a service area. It's the East Region. It's all one. And I'm
Right.
saying to
Well,
myself,
you can draw a line on a map. It doesn't mean much.
no.
Oh, there are many maps in the state, depending on what you're looking at. That's true.
I
But-
call it the cow path.
But what we'll do is we'll have you back in May after this settles down a little bit for the next step.
Yes.
To see where we are. And again,
There'll be
that's-
more bills too. We have at least a half a dozen in this legislature on maternal health, which is unusual.
Well, that means people are thinking
People
about
are thinking
it,
about
looking
it,
at
talking
ideas.
about it, and
That's
the
good.
name Wyndham is coming up many times over and over again. They seem to nod their
Statewide.
heads when I spoke.
Yeah.
They know the story continues.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's always good, no matter what
It
the
is
outcome.
very
Getting
good.
better
It is very good,
attention.
yes.
Yeah. So if you check on their Facebook page, you'll get all the information about these bills to stay informed. And thank you again for being here and for your good work all
Our
year.
pleasure.
Can I make
Absolutely.
one more comment?
Yes,
Since
please.
you said politics,
Sure, sure.
I will bring up a little politics. And that is, one of the big arguments I like to make all the time is that there's always other ways. Everybody thinks there's a Democrat and a Republican way. There's other ways. And so the answers that they're presenting to us with this is the same situation. Do you want a free birthing clinic or do you want to go have nothing? It's like, no, we want good maternal health care. We want good health care, period.
We had a birthing center which took simple and complicated births. We had one here, and they closed it.
Well, that goes back to the very original questions that have yet
Why
to be
did they
answered.
close it?
Right, that's not been answered. Just this. Well, the results of the study will be shared, and then we'll go back to the original questions.
Yes.
At some point, and that'll be another step later. Yeah, it is kind of, jumping down the rabbit hole. But what else can you do but deal the best you can?
Absolutely, and
So-
keep the issue alive and well. Again, we're
Right.
not getting tired of this, and we're not going away. We are continuing to, represent our communities and talk up for them. So, yeah, anybody wants to join us, welcome.
Thank you, John.
And thank you
Alrighty.
for having us again.
You betcha.
Our pleasure.
All right. We'll take a short break here for some messages and come right back. And we're going to raise the spirits with the Consonare choral community. And we also have a calendar of arts events and news. A lot of stuff to share. Don't go away. Okay, we're back here live on the Homefront. Very happy to have you with us. I'd just like to give you an email, too, by the way. If you'd like to join us in a future program, if you've got news to share, if you want to come by the studio and share a longer story, feel free to do so. John@humanartsmedia.com is the email. The doors are always open for you. Well, sitting next to me is Sarah Kaufold. She's the artistic director of the Consonare choral community. I've had her on the program a few times in recent years. They do wonderful work with the voice. They have some concert events coming up this month, but I think I want to give you a 1-minute taste of one of the ensembles that she works with called the Voices of Consonare. This is just a 1-minute extract of what happens in the room when you hear nothing but voices together. Check this out. Okay, that was just a little sample from the Voices of Consonare. So perhaps, Sarah, as a starting point again, since you're one of the co-founders, talk about the whole idea of the Consonare community and what the original intention was. And now it's taken many forms.
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
Well, the first point of Consonare, which is really Italian for consonants. So when you think of consonants, you're thinking of not just something that sounds good together, but also, something that goes well together. So that's where Consonare comes from. And we thought we would start with a women's choir, a place for women to be, and have a tandem children's choir at the same time. So that was how it sort of started. And then we wanted to make sure we reached all levels of choral music. So that's why we also have a professional choir. And in 2020, we added the community choir so that we also reach those tenors and basses in our community to also be a part of our community. The whole idea, though, was to build community together, find a way through our voices and learning how to improve our voices and sing and learn music, just find a way to have camaraderie, understand our differences, and find a way to work together. And that was the whole idea. And also to bring great choral music to the community at large at a relatively accessible price.
That's right. I had a chance to see them last fall, and it was really an amazing vocal sound. And they're so tight together that I'm sure in rehearsals, if one person is off, you hear the difference. But when they're all together, something happens that is very unique in the room that you can't get just from playing it on a recording. There's something in the air. I mean, a recording is wonderful. I think what we're playing now, and you're going to hear another song in a few minutes. It's beautiful music in a recording. But when you're in the room, tell me what it's like in the room when the sound is being made and not just a recording of it.
I don't know. It feels a lot like molecules are just, bouncing off. And then, of course, you're hearing, well, they are, but you're also hearing your voice inside your own head, but also the sound that's coming back at you and how your voice interacts with the other voices. Because, like you said, with one person absent, the entire color of the whole ensemble will change. So it's like you're just seeing how your voice is while you're singing with other people that are around you. It changes. No matter what, your voice changes in the slightest bit as you sort of meld to create this one collective sound. And it's really exciting. Like it's interesting. And some songs, depending on the topic, can bring you to tears, and it's hard when when you're singing not to get choked up on some of this music, but it's really, really an incredible experience to sing with a group of people like that. It's such a buzz of energy.
So one of the reasons why we have Sarah here today is that you have a couple of opportunities, and you also have an opportunity to get involved. So let's take care of that now while we have some more time. On March 23rd and March 29th are special occasions. They have different themes. So let's run those down. People can plan ahead.
Sure. Well, this Sunday is our community ensembles performance. So it's our choir matrix, which is our women's ensemble, and our Consonare youth choirs. And those serve kids from 6 up to 16. And we'll be performing here at St. Mary's down the street. And the performance is called Crossing Over. And the idea was that our stories now that we're experiencing are probably not that different than stories that have come before. And so it's this idea of finding ways to draw parallels between our personal current stories with the stories that have happened in the past or the stories of other people. And so it was just a great way for us to, again, build community. It is at 3 p.m. at St. Mary's on Valley Street. And it's just a great way to see music that can be created with a group of people that come from all levels of music ability. So we don't have auditions for our community ensembles. So we have folks that have been reading music forever and are excellent choristers.
Right.
With other singers who are still kind of new and learning. And we use a lot of at-home resources as best we can to sort of bring everyone to a point of...
Friendly anchors on the way.
Yeah, and creating an artistic, excellent, presentation and letting everyone taste this beautiful music, because there's such great music out there. And if you have to audition for an ensemble, you'll never get that opportunity. So at least if you're new, if you're new to being a choral singer. So there's no audition, so everyone has an opportunity.
That's right.
To learn this great music. So we've got some fabulous music for choir matrix and our youth choirs for this Sunday. And then the following Saturday, which is the 29th of March, our professional ensemble Voices of Consonare will be performing at St. Peter's Church in Hebron. And we'll be presenting our Thinning of the Veil program again, which was really well received. It's sort of an ethereal program that connects both dance with voice. Since Voices of Consonare is an unaccompanied ensemble, we don't have instrumentation to accompany us. It really just kind of, it's almost raw in a sense. It's just voice. And we had Ecclesia Contemporary Ballet join us for that performance.
They were with you in the fall at the church.
They were.
Right? For some of the pieces. Right?
Yeah, and they're coming back for it because
it's a very interesting mix.
It was well received, and it's a great opportunity for us to sub in some new music with this second performance. And the idea is, Thinning of the Veil is that sort of veil between life and death.
Here and there.
Yeah, it's those two different worlds, and there are particular places on Earth or particular times of the year where it's thought to be thin, where you're able to communicate with those that have, gone before. So we chose music that maybe could help facilitate folks feel comfort, perhaps process loss, or feel a connection either to their own mortality or just connection to those who have gone before. It's not a sad program. It's a contemplative
program. Not at all, because I saw that. And, there's a connection to the joy of the Day of the Dead, having a meal with the ancestors, sharing time together at a moment. So you kind of, the fear goes away because you're closer than the fear.
Absolutely. So it's a lot of music that just sort of very emotive and will give you a chance. Like, we as singers, kind of serve as that conduit to really feel emotion. So if you're there because you have joy, then, you come.
It's okay.
Sorry. You saved the day.
No.
Scared the crap out of me.
We had some divine forces intervene.
No kidding.
There we go. Captain Howdy, go away.
Yeah, but I was saying that
yes.
The voices are there to, kind of serve as a conduit to be whatever emotional pathway that you need. So if you're there because you need to process grief, then the voices just listening and engaging with the music can help you do that. But if you're there to just let it wash over you, to feel peace, it has that capability too. So it's a really interesting performance. And then the visual component with these professional dancers is incredible. Yeah. They really bring the story out.
I can imagine with all the physical aspects, as the artistic director, how you place people next to each other, right? You have to hear it for a while to say, well, maybe you should be over there. Is that true? How that subtle 6-foot difference, all of a sudden, wow, the hole's gone. Or, what is that? How does that work as an arranger kind of thing?
Well, that's all about acoustics and the science of acoustics. So everyone has their own, vocal fingerprint, we will say.
Like a fundamental kind of thing?
Yeah, it has to do with the fundamental, but it's actually the overtones.
Okay.
So I have my own overtone series. You have your own. And so part of what we do in Consonare is trying to find which overtones are going to match the best. So every time we sub somebody out, because sometimes people are sick or absent and we have to sub a singer and we have to change our standing positions, because each singer has their own vocal fingerprint, which is beautiful and wonderful. And rather than asking people to change that to match, we just move around to find, okay, those two voices complement each other well. And also depends on the space. We can get into a whole new space.
That's true. How big the church is or the room. You're even outside sometimes, right?
Not in the last couple of years, but yes, we have done outside. Which
during COVID,
really,
I think
that was a challenge. That was a challenge.
Yeah, we did a show and they tried to deal with the outdoors, the infinite baffle of the universe, right?
Well, it's because you're not getting a lot of feedback.
Right.
Not only are you not getting feedback of your own voice, you're not getting the other voices around you.
Yeah.
And so it makes it a challenge.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going based off feel. And there are some venues that act like being outside where there's not a lot of feedback coming back at you. Luckily at St. Peter's, it's a nice warm acoustic. It's an old church. And so it just has a very nice warm acoustic, whereas St. Mary's, if you've ever been in St. Mary's, is a very overly live acoustic, where you have to change how you do the music a little bit because
there's a lot of wood. Let's just say there's a lot of wood.
Well, and it's like a cathedral, so it's like you can end for a rest, and you actually have to wait for the acoustics to clear.
Kind of quiet down all the reflections.
Yeah, for it to clear before you go on. Otherwise, it just gets really muddy. Right. So it's like each one has their own special, acoustic energy. But that's where the science comes in. You have to kind of accommodate for those different things.
Well, in a few minutes, we're going to hear the choir matrix recorded in St. Mary's in a short while. But one thing I also noticed, too, is that when people think about choral music, they think about, ancient music, hundreds of years ago. And some of that holds up to this day. But modern music as well. You work with some modern compositions as well.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the history, but also people are writing today?
Yes, they are. I mean, we do music from the Renaissance up to contemporary. And I would say a lot of the music we are bringing out now is contemporary, written now. Because we have tried very hard to ensure that our music has a broad offering. So we really like to highlight the voices of women in the compositions we perform. And so, unfortunately, due to history and suppression of music in history, there aren't as many historical composers that were women, that their music has survived and endured, that we're able to perform. So we try to perform a lot more contemporary so that we can make sure that we have a broad offering, because we think it's very important that all voices have a chance to be included in the choral canon, and it also helps the audience see themselves reflected in the music. If it's all just, to put it bluntly, all white male composers,
That's true.
You know, there's no place for me. There's no place for others that have a chance to see themselves. So
there's a whole world of new content waiting for a home.
Absolutely.
And it'll be there. If you give it a place, it'll just flower. That's right.
And we've had a great opportunity to make relationships with these composers that are living now. And in fact, one of our singers is a composer, Brian Jones. And he has composed a few works that we have performed, and one of them made it onto our album, which is really exciting. So we've loved being able to work with living composers.
Well, let's mention a website. If you want to follow their work and future performances and some other samples of their work, you can go to consonare-sing.org. And it's Consonare, not the way I massacred it, Consonare, consonare-sing.org. And just a quick tour, what's there for us?
Everything. So you can learn about the choirs. We also do workshops occasionally, and like Firelight Sings, we're going to bring those back for this spring.
Sure.
We also have videos or links to videos or recordings for our choirs. We also have a blog, which we talk about choral discussion topics, I guess. Not on a super regular basis, but there's a lot of great information in there, including if you are a choral, or if you sing in a choir, or if you're a choral director, a great resource on how to broaden the repertoire that you program. So if you don't know where to find music for women composers, it's there. There's a whole list of, first of all, composers by women and non-binary composers, but also just ways to find music that isn't easily in your library already. So
That's
the new stuff, the stuff that is of a broader range.
Something that might surprise you.
Absolutely.
That's the beauty of it. You know, that's why I really enjoy these shows, because it's really about connecting people where they might not otherwise be able to go, and they find out something fantastic. So that's a website to visit. And also, again, March 23rd is this weekend. Sunday at 3 o'clock is St. Mary's in Willie. March 29th at 7 o'clock is going to be in Hebron. And the opening meetings, the rehearsals for the community choir and the youth choir is 3 p.m. on Sunday the 30th.
Yep, and anyone is welcome to join. There is no audition. So community choir is all voices. So soprano, altos, tenors, and basses.
Wow.
And our youth choirs are obviously all kids, no audition. And we're doing Celtic music that we will perform in June with Voices of Consonare, our professional ensemble, and also a Celtic band called the Jolly Beggars.
All right. Well, we'll have you back in May or June to talk about that as well.
That would be great.
So what we'll do to say farewell to Sarah Kaufold from the Consonare group is some music from the choir matrix. Can you set the stage for this recording? It's called Oh Love, right?
Correct.
So set the stage.
It's performed by Elaine Hagenberg. And this song has it was a last minute ad. We just kind of needed one more song to fill out the program. And it was one that they had done before. But it's beautiful yet accessible for the singers to pick up really quickly. And it's just a gorgeous text about, I think it's by George Herbert. I can't remember exactly who wrote the text, but it was how his sister had taken care of him when he went blind. Oh, and it was just this love that surpasses everything else. You know, almost that unconditional kind of love.
Right.
And so it's supposed to be with cello, but we didn't have a cellist at the time. We had a violist, so you'll hear viola in the recording. And it was last fall, and I thought the women did a wonderful job learning that piece of music and bringing it to life.
Well, Sarah, thank you for the good work you do throughout the year to support the arts and the spirit and its manifestation through the voice, and for being here today.
Thank you.
We have some good events to enjoy this month, and we'll close out now. This is the Choir Matrix and Oh Love. Enjoy.
Oh
Okay, we're back here to wrap up the show. Hope you enjoyed that beautiful music again. That was the choir Matrix from the Consonare Community. The concert will be here at St. Mary's this weekend. If you have a chance to be there, 3 o'clock this Sunday. All right, a couple of things I want to share while we have time. Again, some other events. March 29th, the Poets at Large series returns to the Vanilla Bean in Pomfret. They've got poets as Miriam O'Neill and Carol Hobbs. I'm going to have Karen Warwinski here, I think, next week to talk about that, but that's going to be coming up very soon. The Wyndham Theater Guild will be in the house very soon. They're going to have a new play, Twelfth Night. Shakespeare will come to town, and they'll be here. The performances begin April 4th, and we're going to have the Wyndham Theater Guild here on March 26th next week. A couple more things to do, too. I want to mention again, John at humanartsmedia.com is the email. I'm getting lots of news. I'm happy to share it. There's a public planetarium show at Eastern on Tuesday, April 1st at 5:30. If you want to get a ticket, they're limited. Contact a faculty member, Pam Azetta. It's PAZAMETA. PAZAMETA at easternct.edu. You can get a ticket, bring some friends, have a great time. Maybe one day they'll make an easier email for you. Want to mention, too, coming up on April 2nd, Joe Malinowski and others around the state are going to be honored as Connecticut Arts Heroes at the Infinity Hall. It's going to be there, going to have special events and planning. It's going to be at 6 o'clock. So Joe, of course, is Willimantic Records. He's been a real supporter of live music and culture for a long, long time. It's really great that Joe was acknowledged for his contributions to the arts throughout the year. And other arts heroes are all going to be together to be honored on April 2nd, 6 o'clock at Infinity Hall. Come there and make some joyous noise. All right, I think that's just about it for now. Thank you very much for sharing some of your time with us, and we'll see you next week.